Hello, welcome to the Unsung Veteran. Today I'm joined by Scottie Schneider, a Army veteran. I almost said retired, but Army veteran.
Well, I am
All
retired
right.
as well.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So, what do you want to talk about?
Hey, man. Well, it's good to meet you. I really, really enjoy connecting with these sort of veteran podcasts. I know how much work it is, so I want to thank you, man, for getting these voices out here. First of all, um, yeah. Well, look, I'll give you like a 30-second overview of the last 15, 20 years of my life, and then I'll let you kind of dig in with whatever might be interesting to you from that. Grew up
Perfect. And
homeschooled on a. You homeschool your kids, you said, right?
yeah, no, I think homeschooling is a great option right now. I don't know if we want to go into the politics of why, but I think just going back to like the classical teaching and being really responsible for
Yeah.
ownership of what your kids learn and being flexible to what their interests are. I think we made the decision with my son when he was in second grade to pull him out and start homeschooling my daughter. She's now homeschooling. I wasn't homeschooled, but my wife was. So I'm just a dirty public school
Nice.
kid. So.
No worries, man. Yeah, like I actually really enjoyed the homeschooling aspect of it. What was not so enjoyable, at least for me, like my parents were really restrictive, very, very conservative Christian. I grew up on a farm, basically, didn't get out much. And the interesting thing was that they taught me, I think the most important thing about homeschooling is it teaches you how to think critically and teach yourself, right? And I did that. They wanted me to think critically about everything except for religion. And then they wanted me to believe it. So I said, well, no, I'm going to think critically about everything. Thanks so much. So I left. It was around 17 and a half or so, went to West Point. I joined the Army, commissioned as an officer, ended up as a mortar platoon officer out in Fairbanks, Alaska. And then, like the old adage, lieutenants can't navigate is true. I'm living proof of that. Thankfully, living proof. I was snowshoeing out at -40 in Alaska in the backcountry, got super lost, and ended up with fourth and fifth degree frostbite. So I ended up losing like a toe and a half on my right foot and like really bad neurovascular damage to my fingertips. So that was a quick end to my military career.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to ask you to show your toe. So that's good.
No, I
Or
could if you
lack
want.
thereof. maybe
I'm
we'll get to that.
lactose intolerant.
I like that. Lactose intolerant. That's actually, man, the dad jokes go around. That's cool. Yeah. So you mentioned, yeah, like that was a really good fast. I was trying to take notes really quick. So mortar
That's
platoon
why I paused there,
officer.
man. There's a lot to dig into there. I don't want to overwhelm you or
Yeah.
anything.
Well, I think we started off with a good thing, like the homeschool thing, and we can go into your military thing too. But I think you said you come because it talks about your background. You come back from you said from a conservative Christian background.
Yeah.
I'm fully open. I know if you check some of my episodes, like I'm a Christian. I don't know what the idea is conservative Christian, but I definitely have the
Well,
values to teach my kids about the Christian faith. But I think it's a little different in the sense that I want them to choose their faith through
yes.
where I don't force it on them. I
Yeah.
think that's very important.
I think God says it in Isaiah, right? Seek me and you'll find me if you seek me with all your heart. I think the
Yep.
emphasis should be on the person seeking. Like you can definitely train up a kid to how they should go, how they should be. But I think my father and mother took that to the sense of we're going to force them to think and believe everything that we think and believe, and anything that anybody that doesn't exactly agree with that is like out. So it was the isolationist nature that I didn't really
Yeah.
agree with. Not so much the Christian worldview, which I have adopted quite a bit of that now as an adult.
Yeah, I think I agree with you 100%. I think that sometimes that turns off people too, especially that whole like do as I do not and without giving the a chance to really truly find yourself. And you can apply that to
Yeah.
a lot of things. And I think when you do you mentioned like when you were taught to be critical and thinking
Yep.
and make critical decisions. And I think that's one thing I've been focused on teaching my son. We've been studying philosophy recently
Oh, that's so cool,
and
man.
looking looking for like the true beautiful things in the world,
Yeah.
and a lot of stuff is like Socrates and Plato and stuff like that, which not Christian, they're like Greek, right? But I told him I was like, sometimes you got to observe nature in the way it is and observe things, and then come to your critical things based off of truth and observations. So I think those are all
Yeah.
really cool things, and if you can approach it that way and have an open mind, hopefully you'll come to the truth. So that's
Yeah,
pretty
man.
cool too.
I agree 100%.
All right. So anything going on with that? Because I always think that's just really interesting, and I think sometimes that's always to bring up as well. mortar platoon officer, and you said you were at West Point too. Like, describe some. Like this is all new, fresh information to me. Like, I have never talked to anybody who's went to West Point. Like, what's the process to go to
Most of
that
them,
school?
look a little bit more professional than me. Uh,
Whatever. They're jealous, dude. Like I want. Well, I
dude,
have the beard now too,
I
but
would completely native, man. West Point you can get in three ways. Well, yeah, three ways: representative nomination, a congressman nomination, or a presidential nomination. Usually, the presidential
wow.
nomination is given away to like prior service military peeps. But yeah, it's very competitive. There are about 1,000 people that get in every year. Out of that, I think around 700 or 800 finish pretty typically. A 4 year, not the most fun experience, and you owe 5 years of service to the Army later. That's it in a nutshell.
Mm.
So you're basically like full time Army and full time student, and sucking full time as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think, I talk to kids because my son's in high school currently. He's 17, and I'm a retired Marine, and enlisted. I went. I joined kind of late. I was at 22 when I joined, but they have these like. I always tell them like, don't believe the commercials or the memes or because I think they have these what's it, a falsehood of how they think the military's it's just going to be like, I'm going to be this action hero on the movies and I'm going to
Oh yeah,
do all this thing. And I'm like, I was trying to tell them, I was like, well, if you go enlisted route, what you're going to do on the
yeah,
Marine side is you're going to be cleaning a lot of toilets and scrubbing a lot of floors and getting yelled at quite a bit.
yeah, and
And
then
then maybe
waiting
you'll
in
get
line,
promoted.
then waiting in line all the other times.
So, I mean, would you say like West Point? Because I've always heard like West Point is like this prestigious school. Like you said, it's very hard to get in. And then what was the way you got in? You said there was three different ways. What was the way you got accepted?
I got in through a fifth district congressional seat nomination. There was I think her name was Virginia Woolf. She was a congresswoman that she was going for reelection. And interestingly, we actually worked for the other guy's campaign, but he lost. And so she knew us enough by that point that I was really hungry for a West Point nomination that she gave it to me. I was working really hard. The church that I was a part of, that we were a part of when I was a kid, had a version of the Boy Scouts that was called the Royal Rangers. And
Hmm.
I had gotten up to like the top level, like Eagle Scout level kind of award, and that also kind of helped. That plus some SAT scores, and the fact that my dad, uncle, granddad were all West Point grads, and my great granddad was a Naval Academy graduate. That helped a little bit as well.
Okay.
Uh, yeah.
So that's super awesome. Okay, so that makes sense. But I mean, like, so now you know, like all the see, like, yeah, you like ton of family legacy that probably helps.
Yeah.
So you probably had a good idea of going, or maybe not. What was?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. I did have a good idea of going. I watched all the documentaries. I think YouTube was, I think, kind of starting around that time, or maybe not. I don't know. But I watched all the documentaries, talked to a lot of West Pointers. So I kind of had an idea it was going to suck, right? The interesting thing that I didn't necessarily anticipate, though, was it was actually better than my high school years. Because if you can imagine, like I'm on this farm, can't really go anywhere, can't watch movies, can't. It's like basically Amish. I was like, this
Oh,
is not
geez,
cool.
you talking about really
And
conservative Christian?
no, yeah. When I say conservative Christian,
Okay, okay.
I'm not over exaggerating
Now
there.
I'm starting to paint in a picture right
Yeah.
now.
And so they're like, hey, look, when I get to West Point, they're like, we're gonna tell you when to wake up and when to go to bed, and when to be at lunchtime and stuff like that. And you can't watch videos, but here's a computer. I was like, shit, this is better than home, man. Let's go. So
Yeah,
I actually kind of enjoyed it, to be honest with you.
yeah, but it sounds like they had a lot of structure though, so that's
Oh
good.
yeah, for
I mean, but
sure.
they got to get you prepared for it for the military and stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Um,
structure. It's a lot of mental conditioning as well. Like part of it is you get much better at handling very stressful circumstances. Like imagine being in basic training for an entire year. That's
mhm.
how it is. Like just straight year. And by that time you get a little bit inured to hardships. And also what they do really well is, I mean, you are surrounded by a bunch of really really intelligent, sharp, athletic men and women at the top of their game, and so that encourages you to be a little bit better as well. Yeah, it was some good stuff, man.
That's really cool. Yeah, no, I mean, I could probably pick your brain about West Point the whole time. Let's not do that. But no, it sounds really interesting anyway. So you finished West Point, and then did you choose the mortar? like artillery path, or is it something that was
Well,
just like, because I know for Marine officers, they kind of like rack and stack and then they get a job that way. Um,
yeah, it's kind of the same way. Like, so basically, it's very much Army intelligence, right? Meaning your class rank determines what branch you get to pick or how many available spots there are, right? So basically, the top guys, like we're in wartime, right? So everybody wanted infantry. That was like the super hua, super slick thing to go, way to go. And when it got down to me, I was like in I was in the top of the lower third of the class. I think I wasn't like the lowest by any point, but I was like holding a solid C minus average, just rocking
mhm.
it. Interestingly enough, my guidance counselor, I saw him once during my first year. He came in and said, "I'm not sure if you're going to make it here." Cadet Schneider was like, "Wait, what do you mean, man?" I was like, he's like, "Well, you're holding a C minus average." I was like, "Yeah, and like." He's like, "What do you mean, and?" I was like, "Well, I'm going to graduate, right?" He's like, Yeah, but don't you want to do better?" I was like, "Not really." And then walked out. That was the last time I saw him. So he graduated solid C minus, man. My assumption was correct. I looked at him. I told him, I was like, "Dude, when I get that ring and I get the West Point diploma, who's going to ask me what my GPA is, man? Nobody. Nobody is the answer."
No,
And you know what? Nobody has. It's now a funny story. I'm so glad I did that.
no, it's to your point. Like if when I hear West, because a lot of times you associate West Point graduates with like you're like the guys you see on TV that are showing their like resumes, and it's like the generals or these really high ranking officials. Like I don't deal with a lot of army anyway. Like I told you that, but um, anybody I've ever heard of West Point, it's like they're higher up when you see them on TV. So again, that's all
Yeah.
they say. They don't say West Point and he finished top of his class. They don't. Who says that?
Well, they certainly don't say West Point finished with a C minus average, moved to the jungle, and started an indigenous tribe either.
No,
So
that's fair.
it's,
That's though it would probably make a great title, right?
it probably would, dude.
All right, so you go to this mortar platoon. Uh, how was that? Like, so now, well, first of all, actually, let me back up. What did you get your degree in at West Point? Because you probably weren't a degree in mortar stuff.
No, no. That's the funny part. I forgot to mention. I got too wrapped up in the story. So like I'm lower down in the class rank, and the only spots available that were like combat arms, really, I think at that point was field artillery. So I got field artillery, and interestingly enough, like I don't know, physics and math, like not doing very well. Again, C student, and it's the most, I think, like intellectually, mathematically demanding job at the
Mhm.
army, because like infantry is like point gun, go boom, target goes down.
Yeah.
But with field artillery, you're like, all right, 17 kilometers to the target, and like the spin of the earth, Coriolis effect, and the humidity of the water, and you're like doing all these calculations. So I
Well,
was like,
you're also figuring out
this
how
is hilarious.
your aim, like how the artillery when it hits, and then like the damage that it's going to create. If there's going to be there's a lot more that goes into it than just shoot a
Oh
thing.
yeah,
You got to figure out all the things it's going to cause, how it's going to affect the environment, how the environment's
yep,
going to affect the round. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to military stuff. So my background
nice.
is marine aviation. I specifically did so I did air tactical air defense control. Uh, a lot of words, which means I controlled
Yeah, like a
uh,
JTAC.
no,
No,
not JTACs
no.
are part of that, but no, I did more of like deep strikes and air to air missions. But knowing the capabilities and limitations of certain air platforms and the munitions they carry, and then all those effects they have, as well as how the enemy's stuff. I'm like super nerdy. I don't really want to go into that super bad, but like I do
That's
have
all
a
right,
lot of
man. No
experience in
worries.
that.
Cool. Yeah, like I chose Alaska as my duty station. I wanted to get kind of far away, and it sounded like super awesome, like running around in the snow and stuff. And I had a buddy of mine that I'd gone to my church with when I was a kid that had enlisted in the military and also ended up in Fairbanks, Alaska. So I was like, send me to Fort Wainwright. Let's go. And that was great, man. I loved it. It was great. I had a mortar platoon and then a fire support team. I had a striker with like all the fancy, pointier bomb drops equipment, and really loved that. I wanted to go to SF selection and I wanted to go to Ranger School after we had deployed. So I never got to the deployment because my squadron commander was like, dude, um, prove yourself and I will send you to both those schools after you get back from deployment. So I was like, all right, let's go. And so I just kind of bit off more than I could chew, man. I was out there like every weekend, all through the winter, snowshoeing, running, cross country, run everything. I was like pushing myself to my absolute limits and just found a limit that I pushed myself past that I couldn't recover from easily. And that ended my entire career.
Yes, you're talking about like, was that you said deployments? Were those like exercise deployments or training deployments or?
No, I mean, our unit was going to Helmand province, Afghanistan.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that up because you said snow, but it does get cold up there too. I
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes
no, like
forget.
I never went down range. I never went down range. Like our unit was stationed in Fort Wainwright, Alaska. So
Right.
like it snows up there quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah, that's because I'm trying to put together like, and it's fine you didn't go down range because you were working up towards that deployment is what
Yeah.
you're doing all the
Oh yeah.
training working up towards. It does get cold in uh so I did 4 deployments to Iraq, and sometimes in the winter, man, it gets super cold. Not so much snow, but I remember sitting on watch my first deployment. This is circa 2004. A young PFC at the time, PFC Lance
Mhm.
Corporal, so young guy. And I had the night shift. I'd sit watch, and we would have water bottles, like the little 1 liter water bottles. And through my night shift, it would freeze in front of me. That's how cold it was. It would crystallize and
Damn.
freeze. And I was like, man, I thought Iraq was supposed to be hot. Like, this is cold.
Well, you asked me about my major. I majored in Russian, so the Russian language studies, and environmental
Okay.
engineering. And fun fact, part of what creates extreme differences in temperature, like super hot during the day, super cold at night, is a distance from a large body of water, right? So I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure that because think of it, like water holds thermal like I don't know this is why I'm a C student, man. I should probably remember this stuff. But it like
I know you already killing me with this. I'm like,
yeah.
wait, well, I never knew
Well,
this.
it holds changes in temperature. Like for example, it was super cold when you're out at your guard shack, right? And you're watching the water freeze because it takes time for the water to warm up or cool down, right? So imagine a huge water bottle that takes a little bit of time to warm up and cool down, and that kind of evens out the temperature extremes. But if you're all like out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the desert, super hot during the day, and at night it's super cold because there's nothing to hold the heat or you know. Anyway, yeah,
That kind of makes sense. I think I kind of get it. But you're saying the further we are away from water. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
where I was at, we had this thing called a wadi, which is like it's a river, but it's a river that's under the ground. It's like they basically had a river, but it was under the ground. You could,
interesting.
it wasn't there. Like it looked like an oasis, but there was no water to be seen. If that makes sense.
Yeah, nice,
So
cool,
who
man.
knows? No lakes or nothing like that. No.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the training you went through. So you said you were doing a lot of stuff up there, like the cold weather training and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, we did the standard cold weather training. What I was doing was on my own. So I'd snap on some snowshoes and go walk for a day. I'd go out and be lost in the backcountry a couple days. Take a dog, a rifle, backpack, kind of thing. That's how I'd like to spend my weekends. And yeah, this one time I was on a like a cliff range and was hiking. Should have been about 4 hours to meet some friends at a local hot springs, but I got super lost. It was like following moose tracks, and usually the moose can go along the same track, but this particular moose wanted to take a detour, and I wasn't paying attention at all, and so I just followed him, and ended up like 4 hours later. I'm like, where am I? I should have gotten there by now. And then I looked at my map. I was like, I have no idea where I am, and now it's dark and no
Oof.
signal, and like I was like, well, interesting. So yeah, I had to navigate myself out of there by just applying a little bit of common sense. I mean, I'm on a ridge line, and so like one side has nothing on it, nothing, no people, no houses, no civilization. The other side has a river and a road on it. I was like, okay, interesting, 50-50 chance. So I found a little frozen creek, and that led me to a bigger creek, and that led me to the river, that led me to the road. By the time I had gotten picked up, I pulled off my 3 layers of gloves. And I couldn't feel my hands, and my fingers were like chalk gray. I was like, uh oh. And then my foot was like completely numb, and there was a ranger instructor that was at the place that I was going to go meet my friends at. So when I got dropped off, a trucker picked me up. He took one look at me. He's like, "Sir, you need to get to the ER immediately. Go directly to the hospital.
Yeah.
Don't stop. They'll see it. They'll take care of you when you get there." And yeah, when the doctor took a look at my foot, he was like, "I think you're going to lose that entire foot." Um, I was lucky and didn't. So Yeah, man, that was not the way that I wanted to get out of the military for sure, but they gave me the option of medical retirement or keep me in a non-combat role for another year and then kick me out with no medical retirement. So I was like,
That seems like a pretty easy choice.
okay, I'll take the medical retirement then, thank you.
Yeah, I was about to say that seems like a pretty easy choice.
Yeah.
Um, no, man, dude, you're so lucky. All I watch on these shows, like Alaska is like there's so many people go missing in Alaska every year, like the thousands.
Yeah, mostly lieutenants probably.
Probably. Did you see a bear or any bears?
Yeah, man. You see bears, you see moose. Moose are actually quite dangerous, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
You
no, I
give
know
them a
moose are they're huge.
Yeah, they're huge. I don't remember seeing any like not jaguars isn't the right word, but like snowcats. Like you hear them though. Lots of animals, man. Lots of animals. I always took like usually a 45 handgun or a long rifle whenever I went out there.
I think if you could survive the wilderness of Alaska, I mean, you were like almost pushed to near death. I know you were able to bring yourself out, but like you said, you're probably pretty close to passing out anyway.
Yeah, I was close, man. Yeah, but most people I think don't understand about when you get in danger when it's cold weather is when you start feeling good because that's when hypothermia is coming on. Like you just sort of feel all like warm and fuzzy and really tired, and you're like, oh, I should just like take a sit here and close my eyes for a minute, and then you don't open them again. And so, yeah, it was definitely a couple hours of being like, "Oh, man, I gotta keep going or I'm not gonna make it out of here." It was definitely a challenging experience, but then if you can imagine, right, I'm getting medically retired from the Army. I'm, at this point, estranged from my family, because of religious reasons. I started thinking for myself and decided I wanted to figure out what I believed about the world for my own. And, yeah, I just didn't really have anywhere to go, so I went into the corporate world, the chemical sales industry in the oil field, got people drunk, turned into a very non-functional alcoholic, pretty irritated and just fed up with life in general, and started looking for something that would make me happier. And that's what eventually led me down here to Colombia.
Yeah, I definitely want to get to that too. So yeah, you got out. What were your expectations? I guess you didn't expect to get out, so the expectations
No,
were.
I was completely caught
Do you
off
think?
guard, man.
And you said you dealt with some alcoholism. Was that part of it? Is just not things not going the way you thought it was going to go in the military, and then
Yeah, it was guilt at having to well, a guilt at not being able to deploy, right? I trained up and trained this group of men that I was responsible for leading, and then because of an idiot action that I had taken, I wasn't able to go down range with them. So that really tore me up. The not having the family and like why have I been kicked out of my own family kind of thing just for thinking differently,
Mhm.
that tore me up. And I didn't have any solid community. I really didn't. I didn't have my life figured out. I was just a generally unhappy and destructive person and hadn't dealt with my own shit or taken responsibility for my own actions yet.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, that's I think a lot of people, a lot of veterans actually go through that, especially guys that like because yeah, I served during a time when right after 9/11 we were doing a lot of deployments. When did you? When was the years you were in again?
2009 to 2012. You can count
Okay,
the
so
2005 to 2009 in West Point.
okay, perfect. But even there in 2009, there was still a plus up to people in Afghanistan. So yeah, like I remember like we were like offering like big bonuses just to get more people in to do that stuff. Just for perspective, so you're around that same time, so you're joining knowing that there's this chance to go to war. Now
Oh
you're
yeah.
training up with your guys. There's probably a lot of I could definitely see there's a lot of guilt associated when you're not able to fulfill those things that you've set your goals to. And
Yeah,
I've
for sure.
talked to other Marines that, well, for me, I had Marines that came in, had they didn't have frostbite, but they got out for different reasons and weren't able to deploy. And a lot of them did deal with that, like, hey, I didn't get to do this thing I wanted to do, or I worked hard to get to. At what point did you find yourself? Because it seems like you've gotten out of that, but what at what point do you find yourself at? You know, to slowly get out of that funk of, you know, now I'm not feeling so guilty or bad about it, or like when did you hit rock bottom and start, kind of seeking something else?
Yeah, one rock bottom was when I had been in the sales job for maybe a year or two, I think. had made a good amount of money with it, had a great car, had a great apartment, great partner, but just was not really able to hold a relationship. And pretty much every job that I was holding, I was like self destructing in some sort of way. So I was like, all right, the corporate world is not for me. So I started doing entrepreneurship. I built 2 companies, and that had some pretty low moments in there, but one of them was really successful. I was like, hey, this is great. I'm making a lot of money now. Yay. But I still hadn't fixed my fundamental patterns or who I was at the core, or really had dealt with any of my stuff. And so I basically tanked that business the same way that I tanked all my other relationships and opportunities. It just wasn't the was I was not a nice, moral, good person full of integrity. And so that was like a real low point. And then I was like, okay, what am I doing, man? Like, I've tried the army, I've tried corporate world, I've tried entrepreneurship. Like, what else is there? And that's when I started to try plant medicines. And plant medicines and ayahuasca completely changed my life around. And for the first time ever, was like, dude, take responsibility for how you're living, man, and fix your life. I was like, ouch, but okay, because I'm basically out of options.
Yeah, I'm about to turn it over to you 100% because now you mentioned plant medicines, and I know you're down in Colombia. You're doing some stuff with looks like the indigenous people, right?
Yeah,
Um, all of it's super interesting. I watch podcasts like uh, Joe Rogan and some of these other guys, and they talk about some of these subjects, but I
yeah,
have little to no information on it. Um, so yeah, let's get into what you do now and how you came to that. Yeah, I'm all ears because like I'm super interested, but I have no idea what it is. So
yeah, man. Well, I'll speak from my experience with the plant. When I talk about plant medicines, I mostly refer to ayahuasca, or as we talk about it here in Colombia, yahe. And a lot of Americans know about that. They think it's like this special tea, psychedelic tea that you fly down and do a ceremony for and puke in a bucket. And all those things are strictly true. But for the peoples that are living down here, the indigenous people and those that are working with this plant, it's like a spirit. It's a thing that we have a communication with. Like, think if you could just go have afternoon tea with the Holy Spirit. That's kind of like what it
mm,
is for us. And so what I did at the beginning was what a lot of people do, which is just take a lot of ayahuasca. I'm living here, so I can go to a ceremony every weekend if I want. And yeah, I just took a lot of ayahuasca. I was working on myself. But I think that what a lot of people, and certainly myself, understand is that it doesn't matter how much medicine you take, it's what you do in your life. As I think Jesus says, we'll judge you by the fruits of your tree, you know,
yeah,
not what you say, but what you actually do, how you live, how you treat your people, how you eat, how you sleep, your relationships, the quality of your life and your interactions with people. And that's what the medicine was telling me to do. It's like, hey, fix yourself and work on yourself. And so I used the medicine of ayahuasca to get better relationships, to fix my life, to stop drinking alcohol, to become the man that my wonderful partner and wife now saw. And we have a wonderful life together now. And what I'm doing at the moment is trying to build, not trying to, I am building community for veterans included, because I think that's the common thing of what I didn't have during my
right.
transition period. I didn't have community of family, I didn't have community of the military anymore, and I wasn't at the place where I could myself create a community. So I was like, well, how do we fix that? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you heal with church and a connection with God and Jesus is your thing, or AA, or plant medicine, or other psychedelics, or yoga. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. I think what does matter is having a group of like-minded people around you that can support you, that you can talk to, kind of following the indigenous model of a village. We're not meant to do this alone. And that's what my entire work focuses on today.
I mean that's super awesome. Yeah, I kind of I'm on my own similar journey with this podcast where I'm not taking ayahuasca or nothing, but yeah, just continuing where after 20 years on this, where I lost a community, and then I want to build that back up, but also recognizing that other veterans like yourself, there's so many resources out there for people to build a community, find something they're interested in, find something they're passionate about, and know they're not alone in that.
Yeah.
So I think to your point, community and having a community is very important, no matter what it is. Hopefully, it's something
Yeah.
healthy and it's not hurting other
Well,
people.
that's the idea, man. Yeah. And kind of what I'm doing with that is like, okay, so at West Point, right, you're mostly taught by officers, right? So officers, most cases, I'm not downplaying their experience, but in most cases, they're sort of like more intellectual and academic rather than like
Hmm.
demonstrated, right? If you want the real on the ground, no shit, who do I talk to that's going to know how to solve any problem in the world? You go to a master sergeant or like a gunny, right?
I was a
Yeah,
math sergeant, so yeah.
yeah. So you get it. That's who you go to. The lived experience, like the NCO Corps carries in a sense like the culture of the armed services in a way that the officers can't. It's not their job, it's not their role. And so what I'm doing is indigenous people are kind of like the master sergeants and gunny sergeants for the psychedelic world. They're
Hmm.
the culture carriers, the people who have been guarding these traditions for thousands of years and showing people how to do them safely. And those are the people that I'm bringing to the forefront. So now living here in Colombia, like I go find elders and I talk to them. Hey, do you have internet? No. Okay, great. Let's get you some solar power and a battery and some Starlink, and let's get you online to where you can talk and we'll translate it for you about your culture and your history and your wisdom. And that's the sort of thing that we're doing. And then we put in coaches in the community and get people talking and have all sorts of courses. So that's what we're doing with regards to plant medicine, is raising indigenous voices and getting the people who have lived this experience and can demonstrate it to talk to the people that want to live better lives. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's really cool. So as you're also like, so you're connecting these indigenous people with people like veterans and other people that are seeking basically spiritual growth or whatever type of growth to find themselves or find a community, right? Is that what I'm
Yeah.
getting from that?
Yeah. That's exactly it, man. Yeah. It doesn't have to be
I mean, that's cool.
specifically plant medicines.
Yeah, is there besides getting them, is there like a thing you do for the Colombian people as well? I mean, it sounds like you're getting them internet, but are you providing them some type of resources as well that kind of benefit their community?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So it's like this is kind of it's a very new thing, right? A lot of these elders, a lot of these communities, the elders don't speak Spanish very well. So you can imagine, like, it's very hard to get a remote job if you don't speak English, much less if you don't speak English or Spanish. And like these guys are not technical people, right? So one of the elders that we're working with, he was actually traveling around the country looking to do manual work. He'd do a manual work for a couple months, then he'd go back to his community. That would give him enough to live for the year, kind of thing. But he would literally have to leave his territory, leave his family, go do manual work. And so now that we are now able to pay him. So it's like, hey, sir, you don't have to leave your house, man. Here's the money that you need for the month. Your family is paid. Your everything is taken care of. If you want to leave your territory and travel, that's fine. But now we're introducing the idea of remote work to these indigenous people that has not really been a possibility before. And one thing that I think most people don't really understand is that a lot of these indigenous cultures are actually very interested in sharing their knowledge and wisdom with us. Like, no, a lot of people don't know about them. If I were to like, hey, yeah, I work with the Wiwa people and the Morui people of the Sierra Nevada mountains and the Colombian Amazon basin. You're like, where are those and who are they? You don't even know. But now you can like
No,
meet
I
these
have no idea.
people. you know, That's it. So like
Yeah, I
we're
think
doing we're literally giving them resources to live by and change their lives.
man, I think it's so important too. I think the human story is just so beautiful as well. And I think a lot of times I mean obviously there's some ugly to it. But like there's so many different cultures that have so many different unique and beautiful things that sometimes if you don't get to hear about them, I feel like you're at a loss as well. So I mean, getting recognition just being down there is pretty cool too. Um, I'm always like fascinated to learn about different types of cultures and stuff.
Yeah, me too, man. It's a real passion.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. I know, I think that's another reason why I joined the military is to travel and see the world and get out of my
So
little boondunk town in North Carolina as well. So, you
you
know,
were well, yeah. They're like, well, I got something to add about that, but yeah, it's like go new places, see new people, and kill them.
well, yeah, I wasn't a trigger puller, thankfully, but yeah, no, yeah, kill
Where
them.
where'd you grow up in North Carolina?
Just a small town outside of Raleigh, actually. So it's like a small town, Wendell, North Carolina.
Nice. I
Um,
know where it's at. I grew up in Winston Salem, and my mom's side of the family comes from Henderson on the north side of Raleigh.
oh, so we're from around the same area.
Yeah, you're on the
Actually,
better
that
side.
actually
You're on the better side of
that
the
or
railroad
call
tracks.
it better side. Uh, but I actually that it paints an even more picture because I did grow up in My parents weren't as strict, but I grew up in a very Presbyterian slash Southern Baptist
Uh,
Christian faith, and the parents weren't strict, but the churches oftentimes were, and sometimes
mhm,
to the where they were exclusive instead of inclusive.
mhm.
And thankfully, I'm not part of that now. I think for me, faith should be inclusive and open minded, and talk about each other, and then learn about each other, and then we can make our own choice from there. But I'll just generally be a good citizen.
Yeah, I think that last part is what I really kind of focus on. Like, I don't really exactly know where I go, where I'm gonna, when I die, or like what the name of the deities are or is. I have no idea, to be honest with you. I just care how you live. Like, do you treat me well? Do you treat your people well? And usually, out of that, you can determine pretty quickly. I don't know. I'm not so big on talking about like how you view the world. If it works for you, amazing, man. What I like is leading and living in a way that makes come people like people come to you and ask you like, "Hey, what do you see about the world, and how do you see it, and like how can I be more like you?" That's witnessing, I think, in the strictest sense of the term.
Well, 100%. That's kind of what I was getting at. I'm kind of the same way. And it kind of, so I'm looking at some of the stuff, questions you had prepared, and I'm going to steal some of these because I think it goes, what you just said goes into something else too, is like going back into what you're doing now is like working with these elders, is what are some of the things the elders have taught you? And then, about time and healing, and how you now bring that message to other people that are looking for the
Yeah.
same thing.
It's mostly about patience. The Western world, man, we want everything immediately. Now, now, now. I got a headache. I'm going to take an Advil. It's like, well, maybe you should drink some water or look at a screen a little bit less. Like these things in our lives, the things that we want to heal, our patterns or trauma, anxiety or depression. These things usually take time to resolve, and they are usually only resolved by us. Meaning, I got to fix my diet and my sleep first so I can stabilize my body. So then I can work on understanding what I went through and work on releasing that. And I got to do it in community. So, like everything that we do in the Western world is isolated, and we're looking for quick solutions. And everything that is done in the indigenous world, more or less, is in community and slow and one step at a time. And I think there's a reason why, in general, they're just a lot happier than we are.
Well, it goes to say that I think they're a lot healthier than us too. Is if you look at
Yes.
the American culture and the obesity and all these other things that are going on, and I'm not the portrayal of health. I'm not going to say I am. I'm in a generally good health. Thankfully, I have a wife that she's very she looks at, instead of taking medicines a lot of times, and I'm not against medicine, but we look at like herbal stuff and teas and fixing
Nice,
our gut
man.
health, and eating healthier, like making things from scratch and getting
Yeah.
exercise, proper sleep, removing ourselves away from screens, which I'm guilty of that I don't do very well. But
No, same, man.
um
Same. I get it. No, my wife's
well, my job
actually a
works on a
medical
screen,
doctor.
so
My
oh,
my
that's
wife,
cool.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, my wife's a medical doctor. So like we're definitely not for or against like any one thing. Like Western medicine, awesome, in balance. Indigenous medicine, awesome, in balance. It's not like I'm only going to use plants or I'm only going to use Western medicine. It's like, well, what makes sense for this right now, and the concept of how do I heal and become a better person holistically.
All right. So yeah, and again, I'm gonna steal some of your questions. You have some really good questions. That's what it works.
Thanks, man.
But I can literally sit there because I'm so like, yeah, this is such a, I don't even know if I have enough time to learn everything I want about what you do. But we'll stick it to some of these. So how does the veteran lens change conversations and trauma about change conversations about trauma and growth? So how does that, and then I ask you that because now your journey into this thing is like, how have you dealt with trauma before this, and then now you're doing this and your growth into it?
Yeah. Well, the veteran lens can make conversations a lot easier, I think. First of all, because I really deeply understand when I'm talking to a veteran, kind of what they're going through. Here's a quick example. There was a guy, a cousin of one of my best friends, that had been interested in ayahuasca for many years, but hadn't really ever made the decision to do it. And we had a ceremony that night. And so my buddy was like, "Hey, would you talk to him? He's a Marine, actually. So he was a Marine. He was a mail clerk, and he ended up getting shot down in a Chinook and ended up in a 3-day firefight out in the mountains of Afghanistan. Horrifically. traumatizing experience. He had a lot of PTSD from it. He's like, hey, so you're gonna like you're gonna try to convince me to come into the ceremony, right? I was like, no, man, not at all. Tell me what's going on in your life. Tell me about the PTSD. It was like, oh, I'm anxious. I'm not sleeping well. Can't hold a relationship. Can barely hold a job. They give me this laundry list of things. So, okay. What are you worried about if you say go take ceremony tonight with us? And he's like, well, I'm just it's uncertain, what's going to happen or if I'm going to go back to that same place. I was like, all right, man. Well, it's pretty simple. What do you fear more? Do you want to continue living with all that list of things that you told me that you're living with? Or do you want to take a risk and see if something can actually get you closer to healing? And he was like, shit, I'm in. That was it. Took me 30 seconds, you know? So sometimes in the veteran world, we're a little bit more, we're open to more disciplined, corrective, like pushing. You know what I mean?
Well, I think in that certain example you gave or the circumstance, you played on the most veterans are risk takers in general,
Yeah.
and so you kind of play on those heartstrings. So
Yeah.
very good
Well, it's also
sales.
like,
Well, no, no,
well,
it's
I am a
truthful because you
salesperson. I am a
well,
salesperson, by the way.
yeah. So, but I mean, but like you coming from a veteran too, though, you're it's a lived experience, and obviously you dealt with
Yeah.
trauma, whether it happened during military training or not.
Yeah.
Um, it's a lived experience that you can come to generally, genuinely, and give them to without trying to lie about or convince somebody.
Yeah. Like we don't
I
have
think
to
that's true.
understand.
Yeah, I think that's true about most veterans. I still struggle with that a lot too, in the sense that I open up a lot easier to people to have the same shared experience. In the sense that whether it's
Yeah.
the joining the military with the right to serve and that military structure and training, and it's just like a known understanding. Ocoyai. Okay,
Okoye.
is that the plant? That's your website, right?
Oh, that's the website. Yeah. Okoyai means water jaguar. The plant is ayahuasca or yahe.
Yeah, let's talk about your website though and what you do and like what you can provide and how people can find you. Let's go do that too,
Yeah.
because yeah, I think that's important as well.
Yeah, man. Well, for veterans or anybody else listening, it's a completely free community and a course around ayahuasca, plant medicines, and how we see the world. So come on in and join us. We've got occasional events. We've got a really great and growing community. So hop on over to the website and you can get there through that link. I'm sure you'll probably put the link in the show notes, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's
I'll have it in
yeah.
the description. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so just check out the description and you can come find us there, join free, and we would love to see you, man. Like seriously, anybody, men, women. We got plenty of people that can get in there if you're looking to improve your life, or if you're looking to heal or stabilize or find like-minded people. That's what we're there for, man. We're creating the world's first indigenous village online.
Oh, that's cool. So when you're saying it's an online space, so that's why it's good that I asked you because I'm over here thinking they're gonna fly down and join you with the elders and do all
Well,
that
I
stuff.
mean,
I guess they could do that too, but
yeah,
that wouldn't be
we
so free.
they could do that. They could do that too, but it wouldn't be free. That would be a nightmare. We do have an actual physical community that we're building out for sure. Um, my wife is Nutabe Indian, and by marrying her, I was adopted into the Nutabe Indian tribe. And interestingly and hilariously, I've been elected governor of our local tribe. So we're establishing
Oh,
like a no shit government. Like I'm the whitest ever like adopted indigenous person. It's fantastic. Yeah, man. So like eventually people will be able to go down and come join us. The purpose of the online coaching is to help people wherever they're at. The free community is to stabilize them wherever they're at and get them connected to the right resources. And eventually we will probably run sort of in-person events down here with people that we know, like, and trust and have worked with before, you know?
super awesome. So yeah, they join your website. They can get and talk to these elders and get the wisdom and experiences from these elders as well. So
Yeah.
that's super neat. Yeah,
Thanks,
I
man.
guess I misunderstood it, so I'm glad you cleared that up because I'm over
No,
here like,
it's
oh, we're
like
gonna fly down to Colombia. We're gonna go to
it's
these ceremonies.
it's totally not your fault, man. Like first of all, that's what most people think in terms of they think, oh, anybody's talking about plant medicine, like they've got to be building a retreat center. We chose not to build a retreat center because we think that the majority of people that are using plant medicines are not doing it in the best way possible, which is they're over relying on the medicines to fix them as opposed to fixing their life. So like if you get your diet and your relationships and your sleep straight, you may not need ayahuasca at all.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're doing is we want to help people where they're at, raise indigenous voices, and if and when ceremonies become a part of that in the future, it will be done very carefully and in a way that doesn't commoditize a sacred tradition.
I think that's beautiful because, like, I'll be truthful. I have my reservations about taking like different drugs and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but I also want the experience of other people because I think
Most people do. But look, man, look, we've got for Marines specifically, we put the ayahuasca inside of crayons. Makes it really easy for you guys.
I don't know if you saw like my other video with my buddy Joe, and I knew with the army jokes are going to come out. It's cool, man. Uh,
I had to throw
it,
in at least one
I don't
there.
have any good ones at you, but my buddy Joe, we were talking about why we eat crowns of truth, and I had a good meme for it. I always just like the red ones. I think they're the best. They're spicy ones, personally. Um, uh, yeah, if you put it in crowns, I might eat it. That's true. Um, so there's some other things like what is this eagle and condor
Mhm.
prophecy that you have mentioned in here in your questions? I don't think I know you mentioned you were Eagle Scout. I don't know if that has something to do with that.
Not at all related. Not at all related. Okay, so the Hopi Indians in I think northern Mexico or southwestern US, maybe a little bit of both. The Hopi Indians have a prophecy called the Eagle and Condor prophecy, which is the eagle represents the northern tribes like US, Canada, Alaska kind of thing, and the condor represents the southern tribes, which is the tribes here, Peru, Bolivia, etc., all the way down. And the Eagle and Condor prophecy refers to a time in the future, or as we believe now, where the indigenous tribes begin to share their knowledge with each other and with the rest of the world so that we can usher humanity into a better time and space. Because if you think about like right now, like what's happening, war is everywhere, famine, poverty, environmental destruction. The people that are doing well are like anxious and depressed and unhappy and sick and obese. They're eating food that's not good for them. It's a real mess, man. And so a lot of the indigenous peoples are like, hey, we got to come talk to these people. In fact, one of our elders last week, he started with us, him and his wife got on, and they're people, the Wewa people, really, really special people. They live in the Sierra Nevada mountains they meet the sea on the northern coast of Colombia. And for the last 5 or 6 generations, like when the Spanish came up, they're like, nope. And they just yeeted up to the mountaintops, like the glaciers, top of the tippy top mountains where the Spanish couldn't go.
Oh,
And within
that's
the last
smart.
couple, very smart, very smart. And they survived there. Four brother tribes, they survived there. Karawaku, Kogi, Wiwa, and oh my goodness, I'm forgetting. I'm spacing on the names, but it's on the website. And so anyway, they came down to the last generation or two. They've been coming down off the mountain. Why? Because hey, we went up to the mountain, we prayed, we're doing energetic work for the world, but we realized that like people are not doing very well down there, and we need to help them communicate to each other better and to connect to nature better and just live better. And so they're starting to leave. And that's what part of the work that we're doing with Ocoyai is to preserve these native cultures and their languages. We're doing free language training to create schools for their languages so the languages don't die out. And we're also giving them a voice and a platform so that they can share the message they want. That happens to be just what most Western seekers really need and what they're looking for at the end of the day when they want to go take ayahuasca. Like most people don't go take ayahuasca because their life is going really well. They take it because they're like, I need to go down to the jungle and puke in a bucket for 6 hours with a bunch of strangers because I'm unhappy in one or more areas of my life. And what we're trying to tell people is like, you may not have to do that at the end of the day. We can help you fix your life through a variety of different mechanisms. And if you still feel called, then we can help you get to the right place. So that's what the eagle and the condor prophecy refers to, bringing in all the elders and eventually more tribes so that we can unite the indigenous peoples in a way that hasn't happened before.
All right, well, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that's like a full circle. So yeah, we get
Yeah,
you what you need. I love it.
exactly. It's like, I'll put a quick analogy for the military folks. It is the combined arms of spiritual warfare, right?
Sweet.
So each one of these little tribes like has their unique specialty. The Wiwa are nature people. The Morui people are like coca leaf and tobacco people. The Siona and the Kofan and the Inga and others obviously are Yahe people. So it's like, let's get all those people together. And then you got a combined arms group of like, if we want to accomplish something good in the world, we can throw everything that we have at them with all the forces of good combined.
Sweet. So working with these, now I can't speak. Working with these elders. Uh, so how can these modern platforms support their preservation without appropriation? Because I think that's important too, is
Yeah.
preserving their natural traditions without get too far reach.
Yeah. Um, that's a great question. And the idea here is that, first of all, these traditions have been passed down orally. Think of like if, say, all the master sergeants never wrote down any SOPs and just mentored other master sergeants into what to actually do. I'm actually pretty sure that's more or less what happens, probably.
That's
But
usually what happens.
that's usually what happens, right? So that's this is even a better parallel than I thought it would be, right? So officers basically get everything by their orders, and then the indigenous, they pass down
If
everything
I wrote down
orally.
SOPs, it's because I was made to.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, so you get it, right? Now, the problem with that is the oral tradition only passes down if there are people alive on one hand to transmit it and other people to receive it, right? And that's not happening as often as it should. And so the people that speak the languages and carry the traditions and carry the stories are dying out at a faster rate than they are being replaced. And so what we can do with technology now that we've never been able to do before is capture an entire oral tradition. So every week we have multiple elders and we just hop on a video call like, hey, what do you want to talk about today? You know, help us understand something about the world or about nature or about the medicines or about how you live and etc. And we record that, we translate it, and then we compile it so that we can create a course about, hey, here's the Wewa tribe, here's the Morui tribe, here's the Siona tribe, and here is their cosmovision, their understanding of the world and the message that they want to impart to humanity. And anyone in the world, anywhere can study it. That's never been possible before. And that's part of the work that I'm doing.
That's awesome, dude. Wow. Okay, man, it's too much to take in. I think it's great,
Yes,
and it's
it's a
such a
lot, man.
small time. As we wrap this up, because we're coming up on my hour, and that's fine too. What is like one last thing you want to share that's important to you, or like you want to share more about your website or how people can find you, whatever it is, um, before we wrap this up?
Yeah, man. Well, I'll keep it brief and to the point. The website is in the description. Come join us. Free community, free courses. What I really want to impress upon people is stop looking for a magic pill. It doesn't exist. There's no substance or practice on earth that will remove your own responsibility of doing the work to fix your own life and taking responsibility for your actions. That's it. Full stop. Now, that doesn't mean you have to do it alone. That's where we come in. That's where others come in. That's where church comes in, community comes in. Don't do it in isolation. And I'll leave it there.
Oh, wait, man, what a powerful message. Well, first of all, Scotty, I want to thank you for humbly for like joining me on such a small platform. I was able to find you and you found me. That's great. I actually really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank
I
you,
don't know
man.
how
I'm
much
I'm I'm
like,
honored.
yeah, I always tell people like I don't know how much like it means stuff to me because one, I get to talk to another veteran, we get to share our stories, our life path, build my community out more. So I'm again
Yeah.
selfishly doing that. But yeah, if we could just help one person today, I've already met my goal. So I
I
want to
think you
thank you
will,
for
man.
your service. No, absolutely. I want to thank you for your service. First of all, as a fellow veteran, and thank you for coming on my platform. This has been the Unsung Veteran. If this is a message that hits that you enjoyed or something you felt, please give me a follow. Definitely support, and then go check out Scotty's website as well.